Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of UpTrade Alpha. We are joined by Crypto Damus. So, first of all, I'm very curious about how you actually got into crypto astrology. Did you just want to talk to us about, that journey so far and also your crypto journey in general?
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to just thank you guys for inviting me to talk today. It's a pleasure to work with you guys. I've been working with George since early last year, I think, and we're all trying to figure out this crypto space together. Astrology. I mean, basically, I'm a market analyst. I mean, I use regular technical signals. We look at the Federal Reserve policy. We watch the inflation numbers, and we look at the stock markets as well. But we're using astrology, as a kind of a little bit of a secret sauce here. And the astrology gives us a little bit of extra information about the market trend and specifically about the timing. How did I get into it? Well, I started trading the stock market back in 2011 or so. And I started following the work of a financial astrologer named Ray Merriman, who's one of the most famous financial astrologers in the United States. Started reading his kind of reports and stuff and just tracking it, started making those connections and correlations and seeing how the markets did actually correlate to certain astrological alignments and also my own personal trades sometimes too. So I started studying it. I had already been into astrology since around 2000. So for over 25 years, I've been studying astrology now. And then, it's interesting. I'll tell you this little story. Like I said, I was investing in stocks. I did pretty well. I was an early investor in Netflix. I was an early investor in Tesla and Nvidia, where I'm talking back in 2012, 2013, 2014, before anybody was talking about Nvidia. But I missed a couple of the really big plays like Apple and Amazon. I was just too late or I missed the opportunity or whatever. So around 2016, 17, I started asking everyone I know, all my clients, all my friends, all my family, what's the next big thing? I just picking people's brains, crowdsourcing. What's the next big Apple? What's the next Apple? What's the next Amazon? Interestingly, nobody said AI. This is back in 2017, right? AI wasn't even on anyone's radar at that point. Uh, but one of my clients, pretty much nobody really had, most people didn't know. But one guy was like, one of my clients was, it's Bitcoin. And if you've ever met Bitcoiners, right, they're fanatical, they're adamant. He was like, you don't understand, like Bitcoin is gonna like take over the financial system. And I was like, okay, I was like, isn't that just dark web drug dealer money? And he was like, no, man, it's all changing, it's shifting, you're gonna see. So I started reading up about Bitcoin, I started studying it, and I came to the conclusion that maybe this guy was onto something. In one of the books I read, it had, it said the Genesis block is time stamped for January 3rd, 2009 at 6:15 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. So like, for an astrologer, it's like light bulb goes off, ding, 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 ding. Like, okay, this thing has an astrology chart. Maybe it could be predicted. Maybe we could track it. So I started using the astrology to see. So it's just on a lark for fun to see if it was possible. It was like, oh, it's the most volatile, unpredictable asset in the world, right? At the time. Not this year, but I used to make like 100% moves like in a month. And I had some early success. I had enough success that I could see that it had potential. And we started a free newsletter in 2018, went to paid subscription in 2019, and been doing that basically for 6, 7 years.
Amazing. Well, I was so eager to hear so much about your journey so far. Also, forgot to mention we are joined by George, our lead broker here. Your relationship together has obviously been growing in the past few years. So I'll let you take it off, George, and you can ask a few questions yourself.
No, absolutely, and it's really honored to have get the Damas on this series. I think that a lot of our clients will already know who you are. Your reputation precedes you. Obviously, in my opinion, the top crypto astrologer in the space. I don't think it gets as good as as some of the stuff that you're producing, and the proof is in the pudding.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Crypto Damus for about 2 years now, and there's been two instances where he's mentioned to me over Twitter in private messaging about two key events. One was after Trump was inaugurated, there was going to be a potential huge sell-off. And then there was another one in March 20th, which is the most recent sell-off that we had, that you were really accurate about. And to be honest, I always play the contrarian, the skeptical view, and you've proved me right every time. But tell me, Crypto, how do you do it? The question everyone wants to know is how do you do it?
Well, thank you, first of all. I mean, yeah, we've got over 500 paid subscribers on my service now. We've got 50,000 followers on Twitter. So people are really interested in astrology. I mean, I've had lunch with people on Wall Street, big time people who are on CNBC. They secretly use astrology. They don't tell anyone about it. Astrology is not as, as sort of disrespected as it might seem. So I just want to like say that to people who are skeptical. Well, I think what I do is really unique because I do traditional market analysis. I use support and resistance. I use moving averages. I use RSI, stochastic, and MACD momentum. I do a lot of historical research on the market for the Bitcoin cycles and historical price action and technical signals on the previous cycle tops and cycle lows and bear markets and so forth like that. We use a little bit of the macro information about Federal Reserve policy, inflation data, the labor market, and then we put it together. We bring in the astrology alignments as well. I think it's pretty unique. There's not that many people who are doing that. We don't like just use astrology to predict markets. That's impossible. You also have to be able to really understand how markets move, sentiment and technical signals and the overall economic situation. But with that, the astrology provides context and it provides that key little piece of information that can give you the edge.
Mm.
That's incredible. I mean, yeah, and I know that you've had well, in the last few months, when we were speaking, you were quite bearish on Bitcoin as we were dropping. So that was your stance. Very curious to understand, based off your analysis and the indicators that you use, where do you potentially see us for this market going into the next 6 months, if you can look at that
Yeah.
big lens?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, so as an example, I was really looked at the 2021, the 2021 previous all-time high, right? I studied the price action and the technical signals. And in October of 2025, the technical signals matched very, very closely the technical signals that happened at the November 2021 top. You started getting pretty severe bearish divergences on weekly RSI and weekly MACD. It looked very, very similar. That made me nervous enough that I closed out all my positions around 110, 115,000, right? Not the exact top, but so people were skeptical. People were trolling me. Bear bulls were trolling me. Oh, you're gonna miss out on the big, blow off top. And actually, it was, that was already on the way down. So that historical analysis of technical signals is something also that I focus on. So yeah, basically right now, I'm bullish. I sort of flipped bullish around the middle of the end of March, actually. So I didn't catch the lows, which was what, like February 6th or something, the absolute low there. And then we were just stuck in that endless range. And we saw actually astrologically, we had some unfavorables that fell right at the end of March. And I was kind of waiting to see how that played out. Well, you did end up getting a 12-day sell-off right at the end of March, but it didn't make a new low. So that was telling because that was pretty much one of the worst astrology setups that we were going to see, and it didn't force a new low. So that's when I started buying around between 65 and 70, and we gave the buy signal to subscribers around there. So now we're just holding. I've been adding a bit here and there, but now we're pretty much I'm bullish into the first couple weeks of June. Well, I'll just show you something really. Hang on one second. Let me just line this. Let me just line this up from my Twitter page real quick here. But Bitcoin it's really interesting. It's been making this curious thing where it tends to have a rally top right around the new moon. I don't know exactly why. It's not 100% accurate, but here you can see the previous three new moons. The top came plus or minus basically 2 or 3 days. The previous one, it was right to the day. So
Mm.
the next new moon is this Saturday here in the United States on May 16th. So that would be probably Sunday the 17th for you guys. And I'm hoping to see a rally continuation up to about the 84,000 level. based on the previous price action. So we'll see. Then the waxing phase tends to be a little bit less bullish. It tends to be bearish. You can see it kind of goes down into that full moon the previous couple of times. Now, in the last one, actually it did go up, but then for about 4 days, 3 or 4 days, it went down again. But it was a little more sideways. So it's a less bullish phase after the new moon this Saturday. So I'm looking for a local top like this Saturday. But overall, we have a very favorable picture in the first 2 weeks of June. So right now, the forecast basically projects that Bitcoin will go higher into the first 2 weeks of June. So I'm not too worried about this local top this weekend. Uh, and that's an important confirmation to see that things are on the bullish track. Now I might actually start scaling out a bit. Don't know that I would totally close everything out. I do think that we could see a rally continuation as long as July. We've got a really extraordinary astrology alignment in July. I mean, it's like a super rare generational aspect. I can, give you guys a look at that. Uranus just went into Gemini. That is a really big astrological shift that happened around, let me see, the end of April. And the last time that happened was 1942. And the Dow Jones actually went up 50% in 12 months. There
Wow.
wasn't an S&P 500 in that time. Obviously, can't see what Bitcoin did last time that happened, despite the war. Actually, the Allies had started turning the tide in the World War II, and the markets rallied. So Uranus and Gemini looks positive. But then now the problem is we've got like these dueling narratives. Things look problematic going into the second half of the year. But let me show you this. Let me show you this alignment in July here. So let me
Yeah,
see.
because I'm just having a look at some of your tweets, and it looks like you've got astrological chart wheels that you utilize and things like that. It'd be really good to maybe understand those as well, because I think a lot of our people
Sure.
back at home aren't really sure what they are and stuff and how they work.
Well, yeah, like could you be a little more specific?
Yeah, I was looking at one of your tweets around the Uranus and Gemini. I
Okay.
think you posted it recently how May the
Okay.
16th you were looking at as maybe a critical week for Bitcoin.
Yeah, so well, I'll show you the one actually in June that I think is even more critical. So
Amazing.
first of all, let me just throw this Bitcoin chart up here. So this is the Bitcoin natal chart. I've been studying this for almost 10 years now and tracking it in real time for almost 10 years. If I go to around June 12th, let's just say June 12th. So here's what's interesting. This is what we're really waiting for. If you look at the Bitcoin natal chart, you can see right here. Let me get that. So the natal Mercury, which in a human being natal chart represents like the mind and the intellect and the nervous system. For Bitcoin, it's like it represents sort of the Bitcoin network and also like probably relates to news events that affect the market and market sentiment. While we know that this Clarity Act is slowly making its way through the US Congress, I think there's actually an important Senate committee hearing this week about the Clarity Act. And now, when we get into June, you can see Uranus is going to be at 2, Gemini 244. Gemini, well, the Bitcoin Mercury is at 247 Aquarius. That's an exact 120-degree angle. We call that a trine in astrology. And that's very, very favorable. And Uranus trines bring like sudden, unexpected surprise, new positive news, new opportunities, exciting new events. And in the markets, they can bring unexpected breakouts. So we're kind of waiting to see how this plays out. We got to see the confirmation in the price. And no, it's never nothing is ever 100% guaranteed. These are just like technical signals. Some technical signals have a high probability, but they can still fail, right? This isn't 100% guaranteed, but it looks really good. It looks
Yeah.
really good for a rally into that first 2 weeks of June. And then at the same time, in just the general astrology picture, we have a conjunction of the benefics, the good luck wealth planets, Venus and Jupiter. So you've got what we call a confluence here between the general astrological picture and the Bitcoin specific astrology picture. And that's what we really look for, because when we get that confluence between those two, then we have a high confidence prediction. And so that's why I'm focused on this prediction going into about somewhere between June 9th and June 14th, something like this, to be very positive for the crypto market and
No,
also for the stock market.
no, thank you for sharing that, the Damas. And I know that when we were speaking, you were saying to me a famous joke that the millionaires they use technical analysis and the billionaires they use astrology. Isn't that a famous joke in
It's
in the
well,
industry?
no, it's a JP, supposedly JP Morgan said millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires use astrology.
And I know behind closed
Well, I'm
doors, you've
not
had
a
some.
billionaire yet, but I'm trying, I'm hoping, I'm trying to get there.
And we hope the same for you
Uh,
too. And I was going to say, I know you mentioned earlier that you've had some pretty prominent names in Wall Street that you've been speaking with in private. Of course, you can't mention who they are, and it's a testament to some of the analysis you're doing. And funnily enough, that chart you brought up, which lines up with the new moon, is similar to some of the Elliott wave structures that I've been seeing in other trading communities, and it seems to be in alignment with what you're doing. So I always say that it doesn't matter if you go out and sit on the beach and just think about it and your thoughts are your alpha, or if you're doing technical analysis or macroeconomic analysis, if you have an edge and it works, hey, you know go for it. And you've been right 2 times in the past, so it's a
well,
testament.
essentially, I mean, we sold the top in October, waited 6 months in cash, and then started buying again the last week of March and early April. I mean, that worked out pretty well. Some of that was technical, some of that was astrological, it was a combination.
Mm.
So
Yeah, and
it worked.
one of the big things that you mentioned is you're quite bullish on AI as a trend. Of course, we were talking about that you said a lot of the wealth is in AI at the moment. But do you see this as more of
Yeah.
a, within crypto? Do you see it as like a genuine long-term narrative? Do you see it as a short-term hype cycle? What are your thoughts on the
When you say
AI?
in crypto, what do you mean exactly?
So do you think that obviously the trend in AI is in the stock market? Do you think that carries on and the strength comes into the crypto market as well?
Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think if you want AI, you buy AI stocks, you buy AI companies, obviously, I've been actually more bullish on the stock market. I mean, my go by Crypto Damus, but I've actually been pivoting a bit more to stocks. My top stock pick for 2026 that was put out all the way back in December was AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, and that's been one of the market leaders. It's up over 120% in the last 7 weeks. Yeah, the semiconductors in Intel, Micron, and AMD, and a couple other ones, SanDisk, the memory, they've been going ballistic. The S&P 500 is up 6 weeks in a row and making new highs. A lot of these stocks are up 40, 50, 60, 100%. Crypto, Bitcoin's up 25%. Okay, it's going, but uh honestly, yeah, crypto's really struggling as we talked about earlier. Bitcoin is having a bit of an identity crisis. It's not the new revolutionary new technology. It's not the anti-establishment asymmetric risk opportunity that it used to be. And it's been co-opted a bit by Wall Street. It's been co-opted by the Trump family. And it's not what it used to be. Things are changing fast. Everything's changing. Bitcoin is changing. Markets are changing. Narratives are changing. The leaders won, Palantir was the big leader last year. It's not really doing that well right now. AMD is taking over. Things change and shift, and Bitcoin is going to also have to change. You've got the quantum threat. People were talking about this when I was speaking at the largest Bitcoin conference in the country at Bitcoin 2026 Las Vegas. last month. Everybody was talking about the quantum threat. They had three different panels and experts on the quantum threat. The quantum threat, whether it's real or not, it's already creating a risk overhang for the crypto market. It is already affecting the prices. And so we need to see some talk and some movement about upgrading, the Bitcoin protocols to quantum safe and some of the other cryptocurrencies. So yeah, it's a confusing period, I think, for crypto. AI, yeah, if you want exposure to AI, I would go, buy companies that are building AI. I don't know about these crypto coins that have AI in the name or supposedly do things with AI. I just don't know. I
Yeah.
honestly don't know.
Well, congrats
The,
to,
the, the altcoin market is just very, very tricky.
it is. And we all have experienced that the last couple of years, and we're hoping that all the trying times in the alt market does pay off eventually. That's what we're all hoping for. And congrats to you and your community for those AI calls. I'm sure that a lot of people are very happy to have seen that, and that's awesome. So bit of a hats off to your success there and the community success. And one of the questions I had as well is obviously we like the work that you do, and like we said earlier on, I'm sure a lot of our clients already are viewers of yours and vice versa. So if you were to say give a little bit of words of wisdom, what would you share in terms of how would you recommend or say the best piece of advice or words of wisdom for investors at this stage of the cycle, like where we are? What's like one piece of advice you could share with them?
Well, know where you are in the cycle, is really key. Like, I think a lot of people come into crypto, they don't know about the 4 year cycle. They don't understand the halving and how it affects the price. And the consistency of the Bitcoin cycles, is quite extraordinary. I mean, the all-time high of 2025, it came in exactly 18 months after the halving, like it's done every time. And so the low, if it stays on that same cycle, the lows would be projected in quarter three or quarter four for this bear market low. So there might be another buying opportunity. Is the low in? Is it not in? I don't know the answer. I think honestly, right now it's irrelevant. We have a rally going. I think it's going to continue at least for into June, maybe July. It's an opportunity. We'll see if the low is in or not in quarter three, quarter four, and maybe we'll see a new low. It's possible. Based on the historical cycles of Bitcoin, it is possible. Now, that would be a great buying opportunity historically going. Then we start to move into the halving, right? And the year before the halving tends to be a bit more bullish. And then the 2028 halving, of course, the halving year tends to be bullish as well. So, I think you want to be real cautious here. Uh, and with inflation on the rise, we got a global energy crunch right now from the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. As you guys know, there was a fuel crisis down in your country more. Uh, and this is real. And this could create serious global economic headwinds. The stock market doesn't care right now. The AI party is going, but come a couple of months from now, I'm quite worried for a global recession, and so that could affect crypto. So I think I'm bullish in the short term for another month to 2 months. And I want to show you this alignment. This is an extraordinary alignment in July, and I've been talking about this. I've been talking about this since last year. Uh, And let me just pull this up here. This is my 2026 report. It has a whole very longly detailed section on the markets, guys. It's starting to get a little bit dated, but we were pretty accurate so far. We did predict there would be a sell-off in February and March. But let me go back to this extraordinary alignment. I'm calling it the Andre Barbeau alignment. He was a famous French astrologer. He passed away about 10 years ago, but he was talking about this all the way over 10 years ago, this alignment here. It's very unusual. You've got Jupiter comes into 4 Leo. It makes a 60-degree angle to Uranus at 4 Gemini, which makes a 60-degree to Neptune at 4 Aries, which makes a 60-degree angle to Pluto at 4 Aquarius. And then you've got these two trines with Jupiter 120 degree to Neptune and Pluto 120 degree to Uranus. In particular, the Uranus 120 degree trine to Pluto is a very favorable aspect. It hasn't happened since the early 1920s, so it's a once in a century aspect. It's associated with the advent of commercial radio, mass marketing, and popular culture, as well as the automobile revolution. Well, now what are we seeing? We're seeing the AI revolution and the autonomous vehicle revolution. This is associated with huge technological breakthroughs. Commercial radio changed the world forever. AI is going to be similar in our age period. It's going to change the world forever. Quantum computing, robotics, autonomous vehicles, flying cars, all sorts of stuff. Maybe there'll be a rocket from Seattle to Melbourne in 1 hour. Wouldn't that be good?
That would be
Instead of this
fun.
Just bring
14-hour flight?
just bring some fuel. Just put some fuel on the rocket in case we run out here.
I was
Exactly.
I was
So,
just curious. So like you said that these are obviously not a pretty rare event. So something like this, like an alignment like this, how often would this actually occur? Is it actually just one in like 100-year type event, or is it more often that it occurs?
no, it's more, I think, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure the last time something like this happened. As I said, the component of Uranus trine Pluto, that one hasn't happened in over 100 years, and that's just one component
Yeah.
of it. I'm not really sure of the frequency of such an aspect. But yeah, it's definitely something like once in 100 years.
Mm.
And particularly also the trine of Jupiter to Neptune. These are euphoric planets, and when they're in a harmonious trine together, this looks like market euphoria to me, especially in big tech, the Magnificent Seven, AI, possibly quantum. I've been very bullish on the quantum computing sector. Gave a lot of strong buy signals on there in March and April. And also, hopefully for crypto, also gets also a benefit from this incredible alignment. This peaks around between, July 10th and July 25th, let's say a 2 week period. Uh, and that might be a euphoria, right? But that's when you want to sell. That's when you want to start locking in those gains and closing out those positions. Because after this alignment starts to kind of break up, then we start getting into some difficulties as we go into the eclipses in August. We got a Venus, nasty looking Venus retrograde in October. And the nodes change signs at the end of July. There's a lot of signals that look pretty bad for a couple months in August through November. So that's what we're recommending right now is kind of stay long until July. You know the old saying, sell in May and walk away. What I'm saying now is sell in July before you die.
Yeah. Crypto Damus, I'm really curious about what happens after we reach that short-term euphoria in June and July. Do you have any long-term predictions for especially the crypto market, perhaps over a 1 to 2 year time frame, and what your astrology is lining up?
Yeah. There is an interesting alignment that I like in the Bitcoin chart. Let me just go back to that one. I haven't, I'm actually working on the 2027 analysis. I'm really still just focused on this year. First
Yeah.
of all, we have to see, does that alignment really play out in July? Do we get that market euphoria? Like kind of one thing at a time, right? I'm working, it takes a lot months of research to figure this stuff out. So I'm still working on the 2027 forecast. I will show you one thing that I think is positive for Bitcoin. And let me just go to back to my Bitcoin astrology chart here. Okay, so now let me remove the transits. We're gonna go. This is a little bit slightly more advanced astrology. I'm gonna move this ahead 1 year to next year. So here we go. This is the Bitcoin progress chart. I'm not going to explain too much what that is, but it's a variation. It's a predictive technique that's used based on the natal chart of Bitcoin. And if we just go back, if I go back to the natal chart, You can kind of see that the natal Venus is at 0 Pisces. The natal Uranus is at 19 Pisces. They're 19 degrees apart. But if I go to the progress chart right now, today, the progressed Bitcoin's progressed Venus is now at 18 Pisces. It's moved 18 degrees over the past what is it, 17 years, 16 years, 17 years. Well, next year it's going to hit that it's going to hit that natal. Actually, let's put the natal bi-wheel up there. Then you can see, so the progressed Venus will hit the natal Uranus. The natal Uranus is an exciting point that can bring, it's volatile. The natal Uranus is volatile and exciting. It can bring crashes, but it can bring big breakouts. Well, Venus is kind of a happy wealth planet. When progressed Venus touching that natal Uranus, I mean, to me, it looks pretty good. Uh, Let me see when that hits exact. That's going to hit exact sometime around July. You can see it hits 1918 and that's 1919. So it's going to hit exact sometime in July of 2027. So that's something favorable. That's something quite positive to look forward to going into 2027. Uh, that's going to be featured in my 2027 report, that particular alignment. I mean, there's other ones too. That's just one of many different things we'll be looking at. Uh, but I think that 2027 will be more positive. Like 2026, first of all, is just an extremely chaotic, tumultuous year. It's a fire horse year in the Chinese system. This is associated with very, very chaotic upheaval. The last one was 1966. You had the Cultural Revolution in China. You had the anti-war movement, the hippie countercultural revolution, the Grateful Dead, the acid tests. It was a kind of a crazy time, 1966. You had the anti-war movement, and so there's that. There's also the fact that you had these unprecedented alignments on February 25th. You had Saturn conjunct Neptune at 0 degrees Aries. That was a 6,000 year astrological alignment. That is because it's at 0 Aries. The Saturn Neptune conjunction happens every 35 to 40 years, but it's 0 Aries. That was very unprecedented. I think that really aligns with AI, the rise of AI. AI might be like a dividing line in the sand of human history. I think technology is going to change human civilization. But then Uranus changed signs into Gemini. That's a once in a 7 year event. You have these unprecedented things that are happening throughout 2026 that makes it very chaotic and tumultuous. 2027 looks a little bit more mellow. So I think that's good for the markets. I think it will be less tumultuous, chaotic, and volatile.
Oh, thank
I
you
don't
for
know if
your.
I answered the question.
Oh, it definitely has, and yeah, thanks for your pearls of wisdom and all the golden gems and nuggets that you're providing to us and the community and vice versa. So yeah, it's interesting to see that if we do have some of these play out, a lot of people are talking about, if the AI bubble collapses, and that's always a key theme. My question for you, if that did happen, where would you see the money flowing into what kind of safe haven assets?
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna. I mean, I don't think this is the dot-com type of bubble. I think it's like, look, crypto, how many bubbles has there been in crypto? Right? Crypto, like you get a bubble, it collapses, then it just, 2014, then it just comes back bigger in 2017, then it crashes in 2018, then it comes back bigger in 2020, 2021. I think AI is going to be like this. You're going to see successive waves of bubbles. Look, the AI technology is still in its infancy, right? But the investment hype cycle, yeah, that's going to get played out, and then there'll be these crashes, and then we already saw it. If you look at what happened between January, February, and March, a lot of these AI stocks were down 20, 30, 40, 50%. You already had a tech crash in January, February, and March, and A lot of big tech was down big, and it's now rallying back up again. So I mean, we're gonna go all to cash, I mean, I love Bitcoin. I'm a Bitcoin believer. I'm a kind of, but I'm not like a fanatic. Like I will go to cash sometimes. I'm a trader. If I think a big decline is coming, I will go to cash. I held Bitcoin between from 2017 when I told you that story. I sold all my Bitcoin for the first time ever in October 2025. I mean, for me personally, I've been holding it since it was at $2,000 to $10,000. I rode it up, successive cycles and 80% drawdowns, and I was like, no, I can't do that again. So it just depends on your entries and where you're at. And now I'm more of a trading mentality of it. Um, and I think if there is a low in quarter three and quarter four, then I would go back into that longer term hold, into 2028, into 2029, because that's when really the next bull market would be due.
Fantastic. Oh,
But
that's
yeah, I mean,
amazing.
the safe haven, I mean, gold did really well, gold did really well as a safe haven, cash is king sometimes. Uh, Even though you're losing it on inflation, it's better than taking a 40% drawdown on a declining asset.
Absolutely. Oh, that's awesome. Now, if some of our like members that want to learn more about what you're doing and the great work that you put out there and your thoughts, if they're interested, where's the best place they can start just to get their feet wet? Maybe start off on a low rung. Maybe you have like a newsletter or something of that sort. But just be pretty keen
Well,
here.
sure, thanks. Yeah, well, I have my website, which is www.astrocryptoreport.com. So you can check out my whole scene there. I put out a ton of free content on X, on Twitter. Crypto Damus. My handle is at Astro Crypto Guru. And then I have the Patreon paid subscription service. And that's currently at $10, 15, and then the all access is $25. We have a private tutorial at $150 level a month, but mostly the $25 monthly is the all access. And so you can check out, yeah, you can do a free trial on it, check out some of the content. But check me out on Twitter, on X. We put out tons of good market commentary and astrology commentary there. And the last thing I just want to say is that people should really be prepared for a very tumultuous second half of 2026. I mean, Trump is a loose cannon. We never know what the guy's going to do next. But we know for sure that he's got something coming. I mean, the guy's addicted to crisis. He's addicted to drama. Whatever you think of him, whether you love him or hate him, he's addicted to crisis. He's addicted to drama. And so this is going to continue. And there's going to be more ups and downs in the markets. There's going to be more, problems ahead. So buckle up for that second half of 2026.
Before we round out, I've just got one question because I know you said something about October, November, something about the doom and gloom of Venus. Like, do you want to give us just a little snippet of what that actually means?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So essentially, well, the North and the South Node change signs at the end of July. The North Node goes into Aquarius, the South Node goes into Leo. This is part of a famous astrology system called the McWhorter cycle, where she says when the North Node goes into Aquarius, it's the business cycle low. Well, it actually checks out. I researched it all the way back to the 1950s, and sure enough, there's been a recession every 18 years on that roughly around that period, going back to the 1950s. That's one thing. Then you get Jupiter on the South Node in Leo. That's also was only happened once in the 20th century. That was in 1990. Well, you also had a recession. That was a recession signal. The South Node, Jupiter is like abundance, confidence, and prosperity, but the South Node is like weakening, draining away. It brings karmic debts. So it weakens the prosperity and confidence of Jupiter. And so that one is a secondary signal. The third one you mentioned is Venus retrograde. Venus retrograde, people talk about Mercury retrograde a lot. That's terrible for emails, lost emails, and information breakdowns and communication problems and travel delays. But Venus retrograde is the real killer for the markets. Especially if a market is trending up into that Venus retrograde period or making new all-time highs in the weeks before the Venus retrograde period. And in this case, that's right around, I believe it's October 2nd or 3rd, Venus goes retrograde. So we'll have to really see, we have to see what the trend is. Now, there's been a couple of Venus retrogrades where in a long-term bear market, it actually brings a reversal to the upside. It's a trend reversal signal. But 9 out of 13 were bearish. And when a market was trending up and making new all-time highs before, 9 out of 10 were bearish. So it is a 90% hit rate over the past 25 years for markets that are in a strong bull trend right before Venus goes retrograde. So we'll see where we're at in late September, and then we'll be able to judge it a little bit more accurately. But the eclipses in August, followed by the node changing signs, Venus retrograde, Jupiter in Leo on the south node. This is all when we see this kind of thing line up. Then we start to get worried because it's like one thing after another line in a lineup. You're like, okay, if one of them fails, you still got three more problems ahead. So it's an obstacle course of bad astrology. Just like February and March, you had the 6,000 year Saturn Neptune conjunction, which was also the Saturn Neptune Aries ingress, a 165-year ingress, a 29-year ingress. Then you had eclipses. Then you had Mercury retrograde. It was just like, again, when you see those lineups, uh, it's just like when if you're doing technical analysis and like RSI, stochastic, MACD, Fibonacci, it all starts to line up, then you're like going, oh my God, this is a really high confidence setup. It's kind of like that. Oh, like a candlestick patterns. Oh, it's a gravestone doji and the MACD's crossing red and it's breaking a key support. Everything starts to line up. It's like that astrologically. You start to see all these different events one after the other. You're like, holy shit, we better be worried and we better lock down in cash. And even if we're wrong, I told subscribers, in January, okay, hey, maybe we get this wrong. Maybe there's not a global crisis. Well, I protected my capital and I didn't take any losses. So at the very worst, I didn't lose any money. Of course, you have a taxable gain. That's a whole other issue, but let's keep working on it. And man, hopefully we got like 8 to 10 weeks here of an opportunity. I think it's the big opportunity of the year. I don't think it's going to last too much longer than that. And if you look at can I just show you guys something real quick
Yeah,
here, please?
absolutely.
Let's just go to the Bitcoin weekly chart, right? I mean, look, the MACD is still at the bottom of the range. It's only really been confirmed green for a few weeks. I mean, typically you get a longer, MACD sort of period. So this kind of makes sense, right? This is still surging. There's plenty of room for these technicals. So RSI is only at the middle of the range. MACD still at the bottom of the range. So that looks like I think good for another 8 weeks of rally for Bitcoin. If we look at the S&P 500, people are talking about a bubble there, but the MACD is only confirmed green for 3 weeks. It's not even anywhere near the top of the range. Uh, RSI, weekly RSI for the S&P 500 hasn't even broken out above 70 into true overbought, which you've seen many, many times in the previous very long rallies. So I think that there's more room to run across stocks and crypto based on just on these technical signals. So that kind of lines up with my July astrology alignment. We should be by July. We'll probably be up here in the S&P 500, right? We'll probably be up at the top of the range, maybe, or at least higher towards the top of the range for the Bitcoin technicals, just on the basic momentum stuff here. Now, the Nasdaq, that one might be getting a little bit hotter. Let me just look at that one. Yeah, that is actually above 70. But it's certainly in a long rally that could still just stay elevated. Those moment in a long, very hot rally, those momentum indicators can stay elevated for quite some time. So yeah, just wanted to show that like technically there is room to run in the S&P 500 and Bitcoin, certainly for another month, maybe two. There could be some breakouts. Solana went up to the top of the range. It's maybe we could get a breakout on Solana there. We'll see what happens. I'm not super optimistic. I mean, dude, stocks are making 100% gains in 4 weeks. Uh, so the stocks are actually moving like altcoins are now. That speculative gambling, like risk on, speculation is really gone into tech, quantum and AI. And so it's interesting. There's
Yeah.
just too many altcoins. There's a billion altcoins. None of them really do anything. They're all kind of this vaporware. Very few of them really do anything important, and it's too many meme coins, too many rug pulls, too many unpredictable moves in the market. It's just a high risk market, but the reward isn't there, and the money's really exited. So what will change that narrative?
Thank you very much, Crypto Damus, for coming on. A lot of valuable insights straight from the source and probably the best in the industry. So we're extremely grateful to have you on, and we're looking forward to that 2027 report. We'll have to bring you back on when that's released because I'm sure it's going to have some gems in there for the outlook. So on behalf of UpTrade and UpTrade Alpha, thank you for joining us.
Thanks a
Amazing.
lot, guys.
Thanks,
Pleasure
guys.
to be with you today.